You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
To another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our new host, Sean Sebastian, and that's right, from the Goonies,
Jared Leto. He was in the Goonies, right?
It's sad because I was forgetting his name.
Sloth?
Yeah, I forgot Sloth's name there for a sec. So you reminded me. Sloth? Oh, that's even better. I love that, Keith. Keep that face. Oh, you're changing it.
I didn't fix it.
Yeah, now it's changing. Now do the look. Oh, look at him. That's
am I Sloth or am I Nancy Pelosi? Sorry.
That was it. No,
I just saw my face and I'm like, that kind of like, I don't know. It gave me that vibe.
No, I thought that was very accurate. I think that was on par with exactly what I've seen from Congress. We got a great show planned, obviously. Catch us live here every single Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Right there on the YouTubes.
Just the YouTubers?
The YouTubes, the Googles. Check out the Googles.
What about the tweeters?
The tweeters? We're on the tweeters.
We're on the tweeters.
We are on the tweeters.
The Instagrams?
Yeah. Elon Musk came in and said, you can't ban these guys.
On the tweeters.
You can't ban managers.
I knew it.
He knew
it was
that's
what you were going with first. Wow.
Well, no, we got a great show planned. Obviously,
we do.
Will Smith is no longer part of the Academy. He resigned.
Yep, and that's that whole article. We've already discussed
That's it. Bruce Willis has aphasia. Discuss that. Yeah. Oh, and Disney's woke. What else is new?
Yeah, wow.
So we're going to talk about all that coming up
before we
tonight.
get to that, we have a wonderful film to review.
Actually, before we get to that.
Oh, my goodness.
There's more?
Yes, there's more.
BS.
Keith, you're going through a rough day tomorrow.
Oh.
You're going to have your wisdom teeth out.
Well, just two of them.
Oh, only two?
Yeah, just
good. I was worried you were going to lose all your wisdom.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared for that.
The other two
can't do this show without your wisdom.
They said those two are good, but these other two need to come out. And I said, okay, if I can just lay in my basement and watch TV all day, I
guess
nothing
nothing wrong with
with
that. I mean, gosh, just pull an old sick day from school.
I got applesauce, yogurt, and frozen yogurt in the freezer, so I'm good.
I love the mixture of food that he's got. It's like applesauce, yogurt,
and frozen yogurt.
Dude,
frozen yogurt.
Well, Brian was talking about ice cream. I don't have ice cream because the fat content's too high, but I am allowed to have the frozen yogurt.
Fat-free ice cream.
You can, but I like frozen yogurt.
Yeah, that's true.
It's caramel praline.
Sherbet. You can get some sherbet.
It's caramel praline, so it's really good.
Pralines and cream.
I like
I've never had that.
It's
I have to
frozen
try
yogurt.
that.
I think it's
I sent you all a text
brand.
of something I thought everybody would be like, oh, I'll try that. No, I got ridiculed. And it was the Hostess lattes.
I showed Sean.
I thought that was fake. I thought you were sending us a meme.
Okay.
And you're like, I'm going to do this on my cheat week.
I showed it to Sean.
That's real?
And he was like, he didn't want it either. But Melissa, Jacob, Neil, and Megan, all four also chimed in on the text you sent it to. And was like, they were all like, no.
No.
I'm showing it to everybody.
Yeah, everybody he's showed this to so far has said no.
And nobody wants to try it.
It's yellow,
I'm a fat
too.
kid.
Is that just the color of the bottle?
I think it's the lighting.
Or is it literally yellow?
I would say I would liken it to, no, it's more of a milk. It's like a caramel
It looks Twinkie colored
something.
to me.
I don't know about that. Maybe the way the lights.
I think it's the lighting because it
on
looks camera it did look.
It looks like a French vanilla coffee.
It looks like a blended Twinkie.
But I would drink it.
That is a little more yellow.
Honestly, the Twinkie wasn't the one that I wanted. I wanted the Ding Dong.
Okay, but then
the Ding Dong looks so good.
Just get a chocolate iced coffee. I'm sure it's probably going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw the Twinkie and I'm like, I don't want to drink a Twinkie. That sounds gross.
Your Ding Dong in it.
That would be good.
Hey, your Ding Dong. You're the Hostess cake, not
the ho-ho.
That.
Get a couple of.
Not the only thing.
Dip the ding dong in your ho ho.
Hey, you get a couple of ho hos, ding dongs, and your coffee, and you're good.
Right.
Look, you take your ding dong, you dip it with your ho ho, and you're good.
That's it. Next thing you know, you got a Twinkie.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Get that cream filling.
Well, I will not be having that after my wisdom teeth are taken out. I'm not huge on sweets, though. See, I thought I was going to be one of the only people that didn't like it.
Look,
but
that's why I sent it.
but then
because I'm
every-
a fatty.
Your dog just opened the bathroom door and went in there.
I don't.
Like,
I don't know.
there's two.
I saw the bathroom door open. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, no. I potty trained her.
Well,
Yeah.
She's
sitting on the toilet.
there
right
is
now.
an
like a cat, like
accumulation
Jinxie cat.
of two different people's bowel movements going on in there, so I think she's just like,
She's licking the bowl right
this
now.
is great
I'm
stuff.
hey, it's the same thing as our nightly ritual. When I lay down in the bed, she's
had
gonna
a-
lick my belly button.
We had a lot of beans, Brussels sprouts, and that was
Almost lost my coffee.
Is that why she tries to sniff my belly button every time I walk in your
That's
house?
exactly
She
I'm like,
knows you got something good in
I'm
there.
like, Edie, get out of my belly button.
She's just trying to clean it.
She's like, I can do this to Brandon. It's okay. No.
I gave her a bath. She's clean. So she likes to clean me.
Did you clean her?
And I let her.
Did you clean her belly button?
She don't have a
one.
belly button. But I cleaned her stitches. I'm just kidding. That's gross.
God, we gotta stop.
Stitches dissolved.
Stop.
Yeah. I
Where
hope
are we
your
going?
surgery goes well
Are
tomorrow.
you gonna clean my stitches?
Oh,
Oh God.
Those are supposed to dissolve.
maybe I'll get
too.
a little wisdom out of it.
Listen, those are supposed to dissolve too, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope your surgery goes well tomorrow, and I hope
I'm
you're
sure it'll
not,
be fine.
Have
It
you had
will.
it done, Brandon?
No,
You haven't?
I'm one of those that they've never bugged me enough to where I've got to get them out.
Really? Wow.
Never.
Unless they think they're going to be a problem, sometimes they don't remove them because then you're just paying for a surgery that's and going through all of the
Now,
process that's unnecessary.
Here's the
But-
God's honest truth
Um,
too. I'm admitting this. I don't mind. People can ridicule me for
Go
this
ahead.
too.
Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
I have not been to the dentist in years.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
been years.
no, I get
My
you.
teeth have always been clean. Like I
Yeah.
probably need to go get a cleaning, but I don't have any
you,
cavities.
you should go
Yeah.
get a clean. I would say that because that was my problem is with my insurance situation and like going from like Bob Evans to other jobs to where I am now. Like I hadn't been to the dentist in a while, anyways, and the two that need to be removed grew in were growing in right when like I was like at my end of my tenure at Bob Evans, and then I didn't really have insurance, so one grew in kind of sideways,
Yeah.
and then the other one, like if this is the top of my tooth, grew in like that against it, so this is the top of that tooth.
Ooh, yeah.
So,
yep.
but these two are fine. So they're like, yeah, we'll leave these two alone. There's no reason to remove those. But yeah, we'll get rid of those. So that's because I've had a lot of work done at the beginning of this year, just because I'm trying to get back into everything. And
Yeah.
not just like
No, and well, that's the
obviously we
weird
have
thing.
our
I've
weight loss
literally-
journey.
oh yeah, that's true.
But I mean, I'm trying to do like not just weight, like health in general. It's like, okay, I got good dental where I'm at now. Let's get that fixed and make sure there's no problems there. Lose the weight. The sleep apnea is on my list, and after that, just maintaining. So
hey, no,
you
it's
know,
right
sure,
on, man. You got to get all that stuff in order so you just feel better.
yeah,
You wake up feeling
yeah,
refreshed.
I just want to know that
Thinking about having some work done. myself.
love.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What size?
That's
Breast
actually
reduction.
oh reduction.
Yes.
I don't.
reduction.
I'm right there with you. Mine are about right now. They're about a C cup,
Yeah.
and I don't know how with all this weight dropping off how they're going to look, and I don't want them to be
You
saggy.
have these little flat thingies that people
I get
can just
comments at
flippy.
work about my
tassels.
nipples being hard all the time.
Really?
Like that, you can see it through my t-shirt.
Yes.
Oh my! I have that issue
And
a
they're
lot
like,
too.
Even
yeah.
with an
Sean, your
undershirt,
headlights are showing, and I'm like,
I can't help it.
I can't. Yeah.
It's
cold
like
in
I
here.
mean, and I wear an undershirt,
yeah.
and they still pop.
Oh
through.
no, same
Yeah. You need to
Can't
get
help
some duct tape or something.
same
Yeah.
issue. Yeah, I get pointies all the time, and then people are like, "Oh," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, they're hard.
You need a
like-
myrtle.
You want to touch
Yeah.
it?"
You
That's,
need-
that's
yeah.
what you need to
That's
start
what I'm
asking
saying.
people.
It's like,
you want to touch 'em?
Okay,
Like-
so let's talk about this just real quick because we
Yeah.
got 2 minutes before we got
We
gotta
gotta get that
review.
review.
yeah.
But let's just bring this up. So if I said to a woman, "Hey, your headlights are showing," I'd be fired.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But it's
Sexual
okay for a
harassment.
woman to say that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that
It's
equal?
it's not.
That's not equality.
It's not if you bring it up. I guarantee you go to HR. They'll
Oh no!
fire 'em.
If you complain, yeah, they'll definitely. But it's one of those things where
Again,
it's
society.
it's kind of a silly thing to complain about. Like, I'm
It's
sorry, I
about-
can't help.
yeah,
Like,
it's
I
a
don't know.
societal norms.
At
Yeah.
work, women can wear skirts that show everything, but I can't wear a pair of shorts that are down to my knees.
Nope.
Like, what's up with that?
You're covering more than they are.
I know.
I
Maybe
know.
not. You got them low hanging ones that just like
I don't
plop
wear
out of
tight
your-
yoga pants. I wear pants that actually like fit.
All
like,
I know is
Coach
that
Man in Scary Movie. You just plop right out there. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly. I can't find a meme of that anywhere. You know how many times I've wanted to send that meme?
I think it's
Yeah.
on HBO Max. Just record the scene and just start.
God.
sending
Oh,
it.
you can make your own
Just make
memes.
it,
I can
yeah.
find a YouTube
yeah.
video of it. It's
But
great.
it is that whole scene cracks me
Yeah.
up. It's so spot on, and they could never do that nowadays.
Nope. No.
They would never get away with
There's
that.
no way. That whole entire like skit with the boyfriend too, and like,
Oh yeah.
hey girl, why don't you dress up, put on my football costume? Yeah, and she puts on like the shoulder pads.
yeah.
Oh my god!
He like makes her look like a dude and everything.
Making me want to watch a scary movie.
It's
Hey,
again.
funny.
the first one was
the
funny.
first one was,
and
yeah.
the second because of the strong arm.
The second one has
I
its
mean-
moments, yeah, but after everything after the first two, just
Yeah,
All right. Well,
terrible.
we've tackled equality, so
Yeah.
let's get into the review.
Let-
now.
we got so much more show to come, guys. We're just getting into it. So yes, if you're just tuning in now, we're gonna have a review of Morbius and then all of our headlines to follow. So let's dive right into our review of Morbius.
After the crapshoot that was Venom, Let There Be Carnage, Sony is still eager to prove just how terrible they are at making Marvel comic book movies. Yes, it's hard to believe that Marvel movies not made by Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios still exist. But the last holdout, Sony, is bound and determined that its SSU, that's Sony's Spider-Man universe for the uninformed, will be just as profitable as Marvel Studios' MCU. From director Daniel Espinosa, who previously helmed Life for Sony, the movie about astronauts that find an alien life form strangely similar to the Venom alien symbiote, comes Morbius. Because if Espinosa can make a movie that reminds audiences of Venom, then maybe he can direct an actual comic book movie too. Seems like logical credentials to me. Morbius stars Jared Leto, because Sony thought it'd be fun to let him ruin a Marvel character too. Though to be fair, Leto's performance as the titular Michael Morbius is not terrible. Bland, sure, but not Joker laughable. Morbius has a rare disease that has left him crippled and will entirely kill him. He decides the cure is to splice human and bat DNA. And this is the part of the story that actually does have logic. Surprisingly, Morbius's mad scientist experiment goes awry, and now he's a living vampire. I.e., he has all of a vampire's strengths and needs to consume blood to survive, but is not undead, so he has none of a vampire's weaknesses. Now Morbius must fight the monster within him and find a way to survive without killing the innocent, and also stop his best friend Milo, played by Matt Smith, who wants to use Morbius's cure on himself. As stated, Leto's performance isn't terrible, but it's not particularly good either. There is no real depth or emotional connection amongst the characters, and the dialogue is trite and generic. What we get is another movie that plays up moments or scenes as if having emotional gravitas where none exist. Matt Smith as the main antagonist can be entertaining at times when he's not channeling his inner Tobey Maguire and doing random Saturday night villain struts. I would argue though that the film's best acting does come from Matt Smith. Ultimately, however, Morbius does tell a cohesive story that is an adequate representation of the character's story in the comics. The movie's biggest problem is that it just expects audiences to accept it at face value because it is a comic book movie. Rather than create a world that feels real with characters that have believable motivations and thought processes, it just wholly throws some of the more outlandish aspects of the comic at you without building a world on which they could seem plausible. Add on top of it generic characters and dialogue, and the movie is nothing special. It's not as terrible as critics have made it out to be, but it is a mostly pointless venture. Hardcore fans and general audiences just looking for a cookie-cutter comic flick will be entertained. But for those of us that have left the mediocrity of early 2000s superhero films behind, it's a chore to get through. I give Morbius 2 out of 4 stars.
2 out of 4. So not as bad as we were expecting, but still bad.
It's not as bad as critics have made it out to be because they've completely trashed this
Yes.
film. It's like at 17% on Rotten Tomatoes.
But you also said it's also not.
It's better than Let There Be Carnage, which has a higher score than this.
But it's
movie.
not the 79% or something that I think
It has
audience scores.
It has like a 70. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it lands right in the middle. And we were talking during the trailer, like the review, because it's funny because some of the scenes, like Tyrese Gibson, Sean mentions, like has little screen time. Michael Keaton's heavily featured in the trailer, which I figured it'd be a cameo, but he's not even in the main movie at all.
It's just an end credit scene.
It's just the end credit scene. Yeah.
Well, and I was just confused because I thought it was literally we all knew he was in the universe they're building or whatever to try to connect it back to
Well, he comes
the
from
Spider-Man,
the MCU.
right? But it's funny because I even thought I was like, oh well, they mentioned him in Let There Be Carnage, but they didn't. They played him off in this trailer,
Yeah.
and I took it for he's in this film to make that connection.
Well, the way they did it, spoiler alert, because it doesn't even make sense within the regard to the MCU, which I'm sure the MCU doesn't care what Sony does because they'll just say, well, those aren't our movies.
Well, what'd you
Right.
call it in the review? the Sony something.
Oh, the Sony Spider-Man universe is
Okay,
what it's called. The
SSU.
SSU. That's their official. That's their official.
I know.
name.
real?
I know, yeah.
I thought you just made that.
No,
up.
that's their official. Their official Spider-Man universe. They're
Yeah,
working on
okay.
the Sinister Six.
Sin-
But like
yeah.
you see like, and again, spoiler, like you see like the purple crack in the sky, like in the end of No Way Home.
Yeah.
And then he flashes and appears in this jail cell,
Right.
and he's just like, I don't know how I got here, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense because at the end of No Way Home, everybody was sent back to their own universe. His universe is the MCU. Why would he just all of a sudden be popped into Morbius's world and left there?
because
Yeah. That's it.
why.
Because
Yeah.
they wanted to use him. They're like, well, because Sony owns the character movie rights. Like every Spider-Man character, they have
Well,
the movie rights to,
yeah.
so they can do what they want to with it without Marvel's
Well, I
permission.
love too that they kind of ripped off that from No Way Home just to be like, well, we're gonna take something from there and generically put it in this to make it like,
Well, I'm sure.
oh, look, he's in this universe.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
Marvel, like Kevin Feige and Disney, I'm sure they knew that. Like, I don't think it was a surprise to them, but it's one of those things where they also don't really have a say in it because they don't own the movie rights to the character anyways. So they can't really be like, no, you're not allowed to do that because Sony's like, too bad, we own it. So,
Right,
Yeah. So what they were trying to go for there was everybody in the MCU universe got sent back to their Sony universes, basically.
Mhm.
But with Michael Keaton's character, he was already in that universe.
Yeah.
So he got sent out, which
Yeah.
is just that. Yeah.
It doesn't
makes no
make sense.
But then the other thing that didn't make sense, and again, like, yeah, there's spoilers. Vulture has his flying wing contraption in this movie in an end
He
credit
had to
scene.
build a new one.
But that's the thing is he
How? I
built
don't-
that one out of the alien technology from Avengers.
Yeah.
So where did he get the tech? Now I will say, in his new flight suit, he's got like boosters on his
Yeah,
hands.
it looks different.
Instead
yeah.
of controllers on his hands, he's got like jet boosters. So that was a little bit different.
They were trying to make it fit like, oh, he doesn't have the same tech, but it's
yeah,
like
but again, it's the same. Yeah,
It's the same premise
it's the
of
same
the
thing.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where, and then, because someone mentioned something I didn't even understand, like that I didn't even think of watching it. He mentions he's like wants to team up with Morbius, and he's
Yeah.
like, I think this has something to do with Spider-Man, though I don't understand it. You want to team up? And I didn't think nothing of it, but then they're like, in the Venom universe so far, there's not been an established Spider-Man.
Right.
Like no, like at the end of Venom 2, Venom knew who Spider-Man was because he has hive knowledge from all universes, but Tom Hardy had no clue. So I was like, okay, if Tom Hardy's character doesn't know Spider-Man, Spider-Man doesn't exist in this universe, how all of a sudden does Morbius and like Vulture would know because he came from the MCU, but
Yes. But
why was Morbius
has
like
no idea who
he's like, who
Spider-Man
the,
is?
like he didn't react like who the heck's Spider-Man? Like
Yeah.
Vulture was just like, I think this has something to do with Spider-Man.
So obviously, Sony dropping the ball in terms of really. I mean, but again,
They're trying to connect to
Yeah.
the MCU.
Do they really have a
but
chance though? I mean, they're trying to build their own universe with the properties they own.
Yeah.
But I still find it kind of a cop out considering that Sony really doesn't have a chance going up against the MCU, and also with the properties they have no real way to tie in something that's super
when you look
crucial
at what they've
to the
made,
universe that Marvel's
Like
built.
Venom, Venom 2, and Morbius, none of them have fared. Like, Venom's been the most successful, the first one, and it is the best out of all three of them, I would agree. But even then, it's like, that's
And
not...
that's saying a lot.
yeah, it's like, that's not your, like, what you want to, like, plant your,
Right,
like, your,
yeah.
your flagpole on and be like, yeah, we're gonna start here. Like, that's
Yeah.
not a
Well,
good...
it's weird because I think I saw too that oh gosh, it was somebody had posted all the Rotten Tomato scores of like the first Venom, Let There Be Carnage, this movie.
They did
and this
Amazing
one
Spider-Man
had,
2.
and Amazing
They
Spider-Man.
said the last 4 movies Sony's made on their own with
Yes.
Spider-Man characters, all of them have been flops.
But the
or
funny thing
rotten.
was is all of them were 50, 60% rotten.
Yeah.
This one was like 17, and I'm like, there's no way this could be as bad as Venom, Let There Be Carnage, or even the first Venom.
No.
Like, there's just no
Oh
way.
no, it's not as the first Venom is better than Morbius,
Yes.
but it is way better.
Let There Be
than
Carnage is just it's atrocious.
Garbage,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
higher rating than I think the first Venom
does.
Yeah.
and this movie.
I would argue that
Obviously.
this is better than the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Not in some regards, as far as Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are definitely way
I thought you were
better,
gonna say Jamie Foxx.
and their stories in Amazing Spider-Man 2 are fine, but no one ever really had a problem with that aspect.
Yeah.
But as a whole with the characters, I would say this one was just so bland and dull that it wasn't over the top ridiculous the way like Jamie Foxx and some of the stuff in Amazing Spider-Man 2 got. This one was, it had its ridiculous moments. Like and it's from the comics, but they still didn't do it in a believable way. I made fun of in the review the whole, how do I cure myself? Let's splice bat and human DNA together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get you're trying to take stuff from the comics, but you got to do it in a way that is going to be believable on film.
I did like I liked the excuse that they gave for doing that, and the fact that
The blood clotting, yeah.
bats have an anticoagulant in their saliva, so therefore, that should cure or counteract the disease that they have. And I like that it was going to be, but I mean, you would think there'd be a way to go about doing that like a vaccine instead of splicing your DNA.
Yes, that was what was
weird. That was
weird.
kind of weird, but that's, I mean, okay, if that's what you got to do to make him into Morbius, that's fine. The only thing that I really could not stand about the film, and again, there's a lot of bad and there's very little good, but what was good, and I'll give it that. But there was I felt like they tried to make it, and we talked about in the theater, the horror aspect of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt
Terrible.
like they really failed with trying to give it that horror-esque and kind of a scary movie feel. And there's so many scenes where they tried to do that, and it's just like, you're not going to scare me with this because I already know what's going to happen. Like, it's kind of like with Michael Myers, and we've talked about it before, where he can be behind a door. You know he's there, but you can't see him. And it still scares you. Yeah. But in this, it's like a hallway scene where the lights are flickering, and it's just not believable at all.
It's a little
and you
forced
see him
ambiance,
in the back, like you see a figure moving around, so it's like, oh well, she's gonna die. Like, I mean, there's nothing there, and they did that so poorly in 3 or 4 different scenes that I was just like, you took the one thing you could have done different with a anti-hero or superhero movie, and you ruined it. Like, if you're gonna give it this horror aspect,
it's funny because that's what we've given credit to Marvel for doing over the last, honestly, I'd probably say the last phase of, the end game, the what was that again? The Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
And yet, they've kind of started doing that somewhat with some of the series, the offshoot series they've had, in terms of the different takes on the genres.
New Mutants and all that was. That's another one that I think failed.
Oh,
with
no
that
doubt.
Yeah,
thriller.
but that wasn't MCU.
That wasn't MCU.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
That
But-
was, again, a holdover from Fox.
I do think I will, and Marvel I don't think does it enough either. That they pride themselves on it, but there's only the few
I
and
was gonna
far
say,
between.
And not only that, but it's like, I agree with you. I think if you're going to play that angle, then go all in and make it a horror film.
Yeah.
But again, they still want to somehow associate it with this like comic book feel. And I'm like, literally the only series, and because it's kind of become an anthology series at this point, where we've seen different takes on different genres, is Batman.
Yeah,
It's the only time we've had, different, really, truly different genres with each iteration of Batman versus all of these different superhero films. You've got each one that kind of fits into, they're pigeonholed into their own genre, and then they kind of, stretch a little bit off the beaten path from a comic book film.
there's a
but they
few
never
good
really
ones.
go, dive deep.
I always thought Winter Soldier did very well with the whole espionage type genre, and even the better parts of Black Widow, like with the spy action type thing. But then again, like towards the end, Black Widow falls back into the stereotypical comic book tropes. And there's another one I was thinking of the other day, Shang-Chi with the Asian film, like martial arts type style film. I love those aspects of that, but it also has problems where sometimes it falls into the stereotypical comic. And I feel like the MCU does better with infusing genres into their movies. But then when you get to the climax, they do tend to just fall back into, okay, now the good guys got to fight.
Yeah,
and
it's like you got to be reminded this is a comic book movie.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's a superhero movie.
We're still in the Marvel universe.
And granted, I mean, and again, that's a slight knock against the MCU, but still far better than what Sony's been doing. And Morbius, it did. Like, again, there was nothing about it that I thought was just so atrocious that it deserved that low Rotten Tomatoes score. But for me, it was just very milquetoast and bland. The dialogue was cringy. The acting wasn't terrible, but it wasn't, like, great either. Like, Jared Leto, I said, was fine. I mean, he wasn't as bad as he is as the Joker, but it's very a watered-down version of all the characters. Matt Smith, I did enjoy for most, but there's some bad scenes with him too. But I did think as the villain, like he definitely chewed the scenery, and I guess that's why I enjoyed it. Because anytime I feel like an actor knows they're not in a really great movie, so they're just gonna have fun with it, they end up doing a little bit better. I
Which
think.
is funny because then you have all of the production, especially director, who's finally like, "That was let's get more of that.
Yeah.
Let's do. I love that." And
Yeah.
it's just like, no, you think you do, but you don't know what movie you're making.
He has a couple, and I get he's supposed to be like this nerdy like weirdo, but like there's a few times where I joked about like doing like this Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3,
Where
like
he
where he's
dances.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the first time he did that, I was like, okay, that's a weird, quirky thing. That's funny. But then he
dances
does
a
it.
lot.
Yeah, he does it a couple more times, and I'm
dances
like,
a
why
lot.
is all this villain constantly
It's
doing
funny
this?
though. Every time he did it, I kept seeing him as a Joker or Riddler.
Yeah, Matt
Like, I was
Smith's a
thinking
good.
He could have played.
He can be a good actor. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been in bad things too. But I mean,
It's so funny because I was about to get mad that you brought up Joker, and I'm like, well, that's all they're gonna do these days anyway. It's just
Joker.
Joker and Riddler.
Yeah.
So might as well just start picking some new
I can
ones.
see Matt Smith as a good Joker.
thought
I
he-
could
that's-
too.
The way he was acting in the film, I was like, "That's man."
His
he's-
face is
Oh, yeah.
He does
really
have the
built.
face
He
for
could
it.
easily
Yeah.
play
Yeah.
off the more animated series Joker.
Oh yeah, he
you
could
know.
he could do it. Not that I mean I did like the deleted scene from the Batman. There were some things about it I didn't like, but for the most part, I was like, okay,
yeah,
I could see
that was-
Barry Keoghan doing a good
It
job.
was
good.
it was
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a
The
different
out of
take.
focus.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the out of focus shots. Oh my god.
So I mean, it'll be interesting if they go that route. But again, that's Warner Brothers and DC.
Sure.
I just feel like
Is there anything you liked about this movie
the
that
woman
you didn't mention in the review?
I mean, y'all did give it two out of 4
I
stars.
did.
I agreed with 2.
and
by
I
the
mean,
way.
it did hold my attention the whole time. Like I never thought the plot was like unbelievable or
What
convoluted.
about
Like
the time?
there was the runtime I thought was a little longer than I than
Was
I
an hour
wanted.
and 44, wasn't it? It was
Yeah,
an hour- yeah.
and I mean that was fine, but
Yeah.
there was still a point by the time of the end of the movie. I was like, we need
Yeah.
this to wrap up.
Yeah.
Because it
I
just
looked
it
at my
wasn't
watch a couple of
yeah,
times.
it wasn't going anywhere. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
like we need like I don't know.
I ain't gonna lie, like just so y'all know, I had to miss because I was
Yeah.
celebrating my
Yeah.
mom's retirement.
Well, that's way more important.
Yeah,
It is,
definitely.
and it was a
Then this
fun
movie,
time.
definitely.
Well, and not only that, but then we did get home. I think it was like 9:30 by the time I got home, and I think I even texted y'all because by that time y'all were finally out of the movie. But I was like, you know what? Couldn't help myself. I turned on some WrestleMania, and I was
So-
watching. I was
Still
watching
better.
some
I would say,
WWE.
things I like. I mean, it did hold my attention for most of the movie until we got to the end where I was like, okay, this needs to wrap up. It does, like I said, it does incorporate, like they do have the story of Morbius right. Like it wasn't one of those things where they weren't true to the story of the character. Like
Yeah. See, I don't know any of that. So
but it was just one of those things where it was just, like I said, it was bland. And some of it, I was like, while the story is correct, there are certain aspects I was like, like with the MCU, it's like you could see how they touch certain things up to make it a little bit more believable than it would be in like a comic book, just like the bat splicing. And there's times when I was just like, this is too comic booky.
Yeah.
Like this is for a live action film. This is kind of hokey.
Well, it could have been
yeah.
done with the serious take, but
Yeah.
the unfortunate route, and especially in that short a time, because there's probably other plot elements they don't want to leave out for the action and the fun and to expand the story. But it's like
Sean
really
mentioned
they
this.
could have probably slowed the pace.
Yeah.
And focused on those key plot elements to make an actual compelling character.
Yeah, because
but
some
they
of the
never choose to
emotional moments don't land because there's not really depth between the characters.
There never is in those movies.
No.
And Sean mentioned it, and I agree. Like the close up on the special effects.
we're
was-
going right back into the stuff we don't like. Again.
Well, no, I was going to say
Yeah.
that close ups were good.
Yes.
Like I was like his character
Yes.
design is pretty much from like
Yeah.
what he looks like in the comics. I thought there were a few things I would have tweaked, but the most part
Terrifying.
I was like it's really
Yeah.
good, except for like you said some of the distance scenes.
They
like,
show it. They
you
show
can-
their faces change wide, and it's real. Their face is real blurry
It's bad.
and real
Oh, that's
smudgy,
bad.
like Superman's mustache.
Now when they're close up,
Like,
it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, when they're close up, it's amazing. But then again, it suffered from the same thing Venom suffered from with all the action sequences. It's all up close
And jarring.
and
yeah.
jarring. You don't see towards the end. There's a scene where they're falling and they're crashing through the levels of a
Yeah.
building until they land up in a
Just
subway.
like the bell tower.
I was gonna
Yes,
say that's
exactly like the bell
what I was
tower.
thinking.
it was
of.
exactly
Yeah.
like the bell tower.
So,
yeah.
but all of that happens, and you're hearing the crashing going on, but you're not seeing what floor they're falling through. You're not seeing what they're hitting or nothing. And then it finally opens up into a wider shot when they hit this like subway tunnel
Yeah.
kind of thing at the bottom. But it's just like as they're falling, it's so jarring. You don't see anything.
Well,
and
they
it's
also-
just, you don't understand what's
So
happening.
they also have like this blur effect, like with Venom, you have all of like the symbiote, like
Yeah.
and they're fighting each other.
Yeah.
With this, it's like this blur, like smoke type effect when they move
Right.
real fast.
Yeah.
And I swear they did the same thing. It's like you have all this blur motion going on while they're fighting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do you need this? Like this doesn't add to anything to
Right.
have like all this.
Or at least balance it out to where if you're going to use that effect, you then have to widen out to
Yep.
see what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're using it it to just blur
it's
the
kind of
footage.
funny because when he jumps or flies or whatever, that blur effect actually looked pretty good.
I would say the
So if
scene
they
where he's
opened
flying
it up-
through like
the subway tunnel.
The subway tunnel.
Yeah,
looked
that
pretty
was kind of
sweet.
cool.
There's-
Which that's unexplained in the movie how he flies. A lot of the other powers are explained, but
Yeah.
that one wasn't. But yeah, when
He
he's
just, like,
jumping
glides
from
on the
building
wind or
to
something.
building
He's
and
a
he
bat.
leaves like these streaks and stuff, it looks amazing. But then they show him close up, and all of that amazing. Special effects is lost in all
Yeah.
of that closeness. They like just
There was one shot when towards the end when he jumps off the building to go towards the final fight, and he has he looks like the most comic book accurate. He's got
the purple, the suit with the purple,
the black
inside,
jacket
yeah.
and the lining's purple, and he jumps and
Yeah.
there's this purple blur the streaks behind him, and that was gorgeous. I was like, oh wow, that looked. I loved seeing the purple and everything, and it did. I was like, this looks like Morbius from the comic book, but then it's like. The rest of the movie just falls flat.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. 2 out of 4 stars for Morbius. I guess if you're really a fan of what Sony's been putting out with regard to the Marvel characters they do own,
If you liked
Go
Venom
see
1
it.
and 2, you'll like Morbius. I have
There
no
you go.
doubt. I mean, serious. I have no doubt.
and the problem is you know how we feel because we've seen those other
Yeah.
2. And we didn't like those.
Yeah.
But that does it for our review of Morbius. Next week,
Morbius.
I don't know what we're. Oh, I do know what we're going to be
Sonic,
reviewing.
aren't we?
Yes,
Sanic.
Sanic
2.
2. The Hedgehog.
Yeah.
The
hate
The
chog.
Hedgehog.
Sanic the hate chog.
Oh man, that would be good.
What is
I'm
that?
looking forward to it because Jim
Hedgehog.
Carrey. It's apparently Jim Carrey's last movie.
I don't believe it.
He's retiring from acting.
I read that. I'm
I've
like,
done that before.
yeah.
I mean, he's
everybody
semi-retired
has.
before, yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I saw that and I'm like,
Now Bruce Willis is really retired.
Oh.
And here's the thing. Do you think?
Dang.
Yeah. Do you think that's going to be the last Sonic movie? No. So, and it's like I guarantee you they're going to throw tons of money and be like, you got to come back for another Sonic movie, and he'll do it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't think he's going to retire.
I don't. It depends on how. I don't know. We'll see.
We
We're
will
gonna,
see.
We're gonna see this one. I enjoyed the first one. I've
He
actually.
might,
I
and if
need
he
to
does, it's
rewatch
fine.
it.
Oh, did you?
We got a lot of movies. We got Sonic. We got
Father Stew. Yep.
and
Fantastic.
Beasts. And
Well, and here's the thing. I think the way we're gonna do it, because Fantastic Beasts, I was not gonna go see this one first, but we've reviewed the other 2. So we're gonna do Sonic, Fantastic Beasts,
Then Father Stew.
then Father Stew.
Because I think
Because
there's
Father Stew and Fantastic Beasts release next week.
they week in the same week, but the week after I think is
I'm not
going
gonna
to
see those
week.
with you guys
Why?
because I'm taking my son to see Sonic,
Well, that's
and
fine.
and my wife wants to go see
Father Stew?
Fantastic Beasts.
You'll get to see Father Stew
She
with us
wants
though,
to
and that's
see-
the one
That's
that
the one we
counts.
really want to see together.
Yeah, she wants to see.
I read one thing about Fantastic Beasts
Dumbledore's
online,
Closet
and
or
I will
whatever.
I will say it if you don't mind hearing about a review because I didn't care. Sometimes I don't care anymore.
Well,
about,
spoiler alert!
What are you reading? What are you doing?
Fantastic Beasts review.
I was
ahead
just
of
saying
time.
I did read one thing. If you all want to hear it,
People have had enough time to turn away.
It's in regard to Johnny Depp
Oh, the
and Mads Mikkelsen.
that
He comes
Mads
back as
Mikkelsen's
Johnny Depp?
is
No.
better.
Yeah, I've heard that the one thing everyone I won't say anything else, but the one thing that they all agree on is that they say the critics are saying Mads Mikkelsen should have always been hired for the role. 'cause
Okay.
he's way
I
better.
can believe
I
that.
mean, yeah.
So,
Here's the thing. I think this kind of series was already on a downhill turn in terms of not only just with the Johnny Depp crap.
Day one
But
when they
it-
started filming.
Yeah.
well,
yeah,
no,
exactly.
the first movie was good. The first one was good, and
It
it
was okay.
did well.
Yeah, I'll say it's okay.
They all have done well, but
No, I mean, but I liked the first one. The second one was bad, but the first one
I just
was enjoyable.
I honestly, after I saw the first one, I was like, I'm not invested in this. I don't care.
Yeah, not a fan.
But then at the same time, this one looks to be what I feel like some of the Harry Potter movies were, which is like, oh, now they're hitting their stride. Even though this one's only, I think, supposed to have 4 in the
5.
series. Oh, 5.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I thought we were done.
I thought
we were done.
I knew it was.
No.
I thought it was only
Oh
4.
no, it's 5. Yeah.
But Mads Mikkelsen, I ain't gonna lie, seeing him, it makes me want to play Death Stranding again.
Again, yeah.
oh, I love
because
Mads Mikkelsen.
that freaking
I've
game
never seen-
and his performance in it is
I
fantastic.
say I've never seen him do he's been in bad things, but he himself I've not felt like has given
Well, I
a bad
still need to see
performance.
that. What was the movie? It was 2 Drunk Professors. I think?
Oh yeah, it's
a Danish film, I think, or something. I can't remember.
It's Danish or Swedish or one of those. Wherever he's
What
from.
other European country
Um,
over there?
Well, it is from whatever country he comes to. I just don't remember.
about that one.
But it did look really good.
It got nominated for, I think, Best Foreign Language Film at last year's Oscars. But apparently it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really good. It's him and like a couple other. They're professors that basically do this. Like it's a study or whatever where they test like what would happen in like your life if you like drank beer like all day, every day. Like if you basically were inebriated throughout, you're like, but I mean, it's supposed
An
to
alcoholic.
be, yeah.
Can you
Like
function?
How
and
would you
teach?
test that without becoming an alcoholic?
I mean, I guess if you're not an alcoholic, you can just get drunk and say, "Well, I don't like this, but I got to test it." I don't know. I haven't seen the movie.
Let's see.
I
Where'd it
don't know
go?
what the premise is.
Another round.
Oh, that's it.
Another
Okay.
round. Okay.
Just read the premise, I guess. Just the synopsis.
Oh, they're high school teachers. 4 high school teachers consume alcohol on a daily basis to see how it affects their social and professional lives.
There you go. And Mads Mikkelsen apparently does a fantastic job in that
Okay.
movie.
Well,
I want to see
he
it.
always does. I have a little bit of a guy.
Now, Sean,
crush
you
on
may
Mads
hate it
Mikkelsen.
because I think
foreign.
I think it's foreign, and I think it does have subtitles. I don't think
I
they
think
did,
it's in. Yeah.
Did they dub it? I think it's in their native language.
I hate dubs.
Yeah, I don't want
Danish. Yeah, it is Danish. So
Okay.
I
See,
don't
I was
know.
right. I got that.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna
Me-
know that that's not Mad's voice,
Yeah.
so I'm not.
Well, he probably
gonna like
if
it.
it was dubbed, he probably dubs his own because
think
Jackie
so?
Chan does when he does Chinese films, he dubs his own
Oh, well,
character.
Well, and if
See.
Mads
Yeah.
Mikkelsen
Ma-
can, I'm drunk.
it won't match.
If he could speak English, then I would say, hey, dub it.
it won't match his mouth movements because they'll be in Danish. But,
Dub it.
It is funny because me and Sean were making fun of Squid Games. Your neighbor was playing it with the dub, and me and Sean couldn't
Oh, it
couldn't
was
help
bad.
because
Couldn't help it.
it sounded like some Texan coming out of a Korean guy's mouth. And I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
this is terrible.
bad.
I was like, this
That's
is-
bad.
I was
Which
like-
I gotta.
Sorry,
this is
Brian.
Just funny. This has nothing to do with you talking about foreign stuff. I saw this TikTok video the other
Yeah.
day of this guy who he uses 2 cell phones, and he calls 2 Chinese restaurants and lets them talk to each other. it is fantastic.
Oh, I want to see
Oh,
that.
it's we'll watch it after the show.
Yeah,
It's
definitely,
fantastic.
Definitely.
Alrighty, guys, I think we're ready to move on to our headlines. So let's do what we always do and roll that big, beautiful open. Boom. Got some good headlines.
Boondoggle.
Really good headlines.
Are they?
Let's dive right in. We got a lot to get through.
I don't believe you.
First
they
one
good?
right off the bat. We already talked about it. Will Smith resigned from the Academy,
I
guys.
thought you said you had a good headline.
Well, they're good for those who still want to hear about the slap. I know everybody's tired of it, but we got to cover it.
No, we do because
Because it was oh, they were going to kick him out. They did kick him out. No, he didn't. He refused. Oh no, they never did kick him out. A bunch of that crap.
nobody
So
knows.
stupid.
Nobody knows what really happened, but he did resign. He said, "I'm done."
Well, I mean, let's be clear what that means. That just means he's not eligible for any awards.
No.
Actually,
It's not. not.
I looked
That's
that up.
not what it means.
Yeah, he can't vote on awards.
That's it.
He could still win one.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He can be nominated.
Yep, I thought the same thing, but
Oh.
then when I looked it up, yeah, it says like he could still be nominated and win. He just isn't allowed to vote.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pardon my French.
So I'm
I
like,
know,
exactly
I know.
what that is.
So I'm like, okay, I slapped
you-
a dude, I assaulted
Yeah,
someone, and I'm
that's
just
Well,
not going to
and
be
here's
allowed.
the thing.
Yeah.
So on April 18th, the Academy is still going to
Yeah.
hold a formal meeting
to
Yeah.
decide
to
what they're
decide
gonna
the
do to him.
consequences.
Yeah.
He already
And
resigned. Really
he
good to
said
do
he
now.
would go along with whatever
I mean,
disciplinary
they could take his
measures
Oscar
they
away,
take,
I
but
guess.
They
They're
could.
not going to.
I don't think they're going.
Yeah, they're
to.
not going to.
I mean, obviously, him resigning, they confirmed too that yes, he doesn't lose his Oscar for that movie. And look, I was the
Well, I
first.
didn't-
I
yeah, I
said
knew
it
that.
on last week's show. I said, look, I don't think he should lose his Oscar for that movie. They already lost their opportunity because what they should have done is he should have been able to win that night because it was unrelated,
But not been able
but
to
not been able to
accept
accept the award and do a speech.
Yeah.
He should have been not given that platform
should have
right
wiped him
after the
out.
incident.
Yeah.
And they failed to live up to that opportunity. So if they do some kind of retroactive punishment, yeah, at this point, if he's no longer a member, then to me, the harshest punishment at this point is to say you can't be nominated from this point
Yeah.
on.
That's what I thought it meant. I thought once
Yeah.
you were no longer a part of the, you just weren't eligible for any awards.
You're just no longer able to vote.
I too
Now, here's
had
the
that
other thing.
misconception at first. Yeah.
And this is also the other thing that still is forthcoming is not only does the Academy is not only coming up with consequences for him, but also the SAG. I'm forgetting the full name, but the SAG Guild.
Screen
is-
Actors Guild.
Yeah, but it's SAG ARTA or ARFTA or something. I can't remember the full name.
Gotcha.
But they also too are still saying that certain consequences are forthcoming.
Yeah.
And that could also mean that he may no longer be nominated for a SAG award.
AFTRA. Yeah.
Okay.
SAG-AFTRA.
AFTRA. Okay.
I know there's also a couple of film productions that have been put on hold because of it, because they don't want to work with him.
He's in the film.
Netflix have put all of the things they had with him on hold, and then I was reading that there were plans for a Bad Boys 4. Why, I don't know, and that's been put on hold. I really thought the last one was going to be like, I thought 3 was good. That were done. But
Whoopi came out and said he's going to be fine.
Well,
Will Smith's going to be fine. He'll recover. What do we think? Is he going to recover
When
from
did
this?
she say that? Because she
View.
also said on The View that she thought the way he handled everything was very poor and put a bad taste in people's mouths for Hollywood.
That's the thing.
And
You always.
So she's already walked back that?
Bad boy. But
no, she didn't walk
everything's
back. She
okay.
said he's bad for doing that, but he's a good person at heart, so he'll be fine.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
And here's the thing. Like I'm again going back to what I said last week, and also echoing Denzel Washington's statement about the devil got to him, and again I think in those moments I don't want to harp on Will Smith the man. I think he's got his own life problems and struggles that he's got to deal with.
I don't think he's a terrible person. I think what he did was a horrible thing to do.
And it's awful that that one thing is going to put a blemish on his entire career, and especially so much of why it is a blemish is because of who he not only purported to be, but who he represented and who he was in his own personal life and on in his own professional life. Let's face it, Will Smith was an A-class guy. He was a stand-up guy.
That's what everybody believed until this goes down, and then people are now like having doubts about
and that's what I'm saying.
Again, you shouldn't judge someone based on one moment. I mean, but what he did was wrong, and he should face the consequences, whatever they may be, when they do come about. I just think, I mean, I'm not knocking him for resigning the Academy. I do think that's kind of an appropriate gesture. Whether he means it like in a heartfelt way or not, can't judge. Like I don't think it's wrong of him or necessarily right of him to resign. It's just one of those things where I don't think that really. I do think the Oscars should implement some type of consequence regardless of him resigning, because at this point him resigning really doesn't affect anything that happened or what's him winning that past award anyway.
I think the only path forward to really truly have the consequences sink in and let them know that they don't stand for any act in that regard of violence is to simply say, look, you can't be nominated again for another Oscar. And I think the SAG Award should do the same. You're done. You wonder, because look, there's plenty of other people. We could argue in a completely different light about plenty of people who throughout their career were nominated and never won an Oscar. Hitchcock never won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Okay, bud, you got one, you're ahead of Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but your career doesn't amount to the hill of beans in terms of impact that Hitchcock had. So your days of winning Oscars and awards is over. If you really truly love acting and want to be, great, your career will recover. It's not like you shot somebody on a film set, like Alec Baldwin,
who right now is just still chugging along consequence.
But hey, what's funny about that though is exactly what you just said. Alec Baldwin is completely, almost entirely out of the spotlight now.
Yeah,
and it's just like, so now you're taking a slap and you're putting it in the brunt of a guy shooting a woman. Like, and I understand that that's an accident, but again, the consequences that he's going to face may not even be as bad as the career consequences that Will Smith's facing now.
Obviously, the slap happened a week ago.
Yeah.
So it's still fresh on everybody's mind. But ultimately, I think he's laying low for, his lawyers are like, hey, shut up.
That's what Will
Don't
Smith
say
should
nothing.
have done.
You've already screwed yourself over. You already shot yourself in the foot. Enough.
It's like, you already shot Marvin in the face.
Oh man, that's such a great movie.
I do think. I mean, obviously, this is more fresh and on the mind.
It's just like on from one thing and on to the next.
But I do wonder, because
that's today's world.
Well, I do agree with Sean's sentiment, though, as I do wonder, and hopefully Alec Baldwin will face consequences now that Helena Hutchins' family is pursuing this legally. But had they not, I guarantee, like Sean said, Will Smith will face harsher ramifications for this slap than the Academy ever would have tried to impose on Alec Baldwin, because it was an accident. It's like that was a death, like over negligence.
Here's the thing. I agree, but at the same time, two separate ballparks in terms of this happened on the Academy Awards. It's kind of hard to overlook and say. I mean, it's not like Alec Baldwin shot somebody at the Academy Awards.
No. I'm not saying at the Academy
but
Awards.
I'm saying
still
murdered
his career.
I know. But the reason you're hearing about it from the circles and from the Hollywood news circuit is simply because directly affected.
Oh, I'm not arguing that.
I'm just saying, I think Alec Baldwin's day in court is coming, and that's when justice will be served. And should it be served justly, and I think he should be held culpable and responsible for what happened on that film set. But at the end of the day, that's a separate matter for the justice system as opposed to this, where it's literally just about the bylaws of the academy.
And that's not the point I was trying to make either. I was just saying that I understand everything you said. I agree with and understand. I was just saying that had there not.
Oh, you mean like the cultural?
I'm talking about his image in Hollywood. I mean, Alec Baldwin will be back to making movies in no time if the justice system doesn't prevail.
And that's where I think the double standard takes place.
Yes,
Will Smith is going to be. He's already being.
Yes.
Well, I can't say blacklisted, can I?
Yeah,
he's already being. He's already being taken off production.
And that's the point I was agreeing with Sean, is that Hollywood, and I understand why in this moment,
Hollywood's
but
justice
overall, Hollywood has not at one point come out and said that what Alec Baldwin did was wrong or negligent, whereas they are coming down hard. And I agree that right in this moment, they should come down on Will Smith because of what had happened.
Although I don't think we've seen much news about Alec Baldwin getting on a film set anytime soon. As far as I know, I don't think many productions are touching him with a 10-foot pole.
Well, I thought they had already gone back. Well, it's now, I think, back on pause, but I thought they had gone back into production on Rust.
No, they shut it down indefinitely since the incident.
Oh, that movie's not finishing then.
No, it won't.
It's not going to finish.
There's no way. And if it ever did, it'll be 10 years down the road, and it'll be some film festival to say in memory of Helena.
We'll see.
That's how they'll pull it off.
Hopefully, Alec Baldwin does get fair justice, but we'll see what happens.
But again, I agree with you all, though. On this matter, I do agree. It's like, but that's the age we live in. It's like immediate ramifications, and again, it's all, we don't want to be associated with this bad blood at all. So we gotta, and I guarantee you, all these execs, again, just like Will's publicist, probably walked up to him that night and said, "Hey, man, shouldn't have done that. You got to do something."
Yeah,
it's like, I guarantee you the blowback is coming with people coming to him and saying, "Look, we got to walk this back. We got to let this die down for a little bit. Give it 6 months. Boom, we'll be back in talks. We'll be fine."
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, I agree. It's kind of two-sided.
Yeah.
But because again, I think also you have this juxtaposition of nobody's going to try to frame the Alec Baldwin incident in such a light, because obviously what happened there is so much more severe you're obviously, nobody's even talking about it. They're going to let the justice system work it out. And obviously if he does come up as guilty and serves some kind of time in jail or for some kind of negligence, I have no doubt at that point you'll see every kind of project associated with his name or everybody who is even tied to him immediately back off and say, "We don't want any connection with you."
Which is kind of sad, because it's like, okay, you won't lambast him for doing wrong until you have an actual, like, okay, he's been proven guilty.
What
so
happened with Harvey Weinstein?
Everybody
wanted to work with him until he was
absolutely
found out.
And that's what Hollywood does.
And that's the hypocritical nature in which why we joke on the Academy and on the Oscars every year is we're supposed to hear these idiot asshole celebrities get up there and lambast us with some kind of moral judgment when they don't have a moral bone in their body.
Yeah.
And they prove it in instances like this where the moral backbone completely collapses.
They all proved it when they gave him a standing ovation.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really funny that some of the very people that comforted him that night are also walking back and not taking his defense now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, the 1 minute they're in your corner and the next minute when they're not in front of
it's
the
just
cameras,
moral grandstanding.
Well,
I do think in some regard, because some of them did I think are fair, like Denzel Washington and Tyler Perry. You never saw anything about it, but I was reading just today that they did, in fact, actually go to Chris Rock, too. They didn't just go comfort Will Smith. They actually approached Chris Rock to make sure he was okay, but there was never a word spoken about that. It was all, Denzel and Tyler Perry, they had Will Smith's back. And it's like
Denzel said the same thing.
To Chris Rock.
Just like, hey, man,
when
you're at your highest point, that's when the devil comes at you.
That's what Denzel said. He said, King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
But I did think it's just kind of funny that it's like, the media is like, they had Will Smith, but it's like they were actually there for Chris Rock too. They didn't just neglect him.
I'm glad to hear that. I haven't read that.
Yeah. So I was like,
I am too.
Just those two specific is the only two I read had done that. I don't know, because I know Bradley Cooper went to Will Smith and a bunch of other people.
Bradley Cooper went up there and was like, "Hey, Streisand, it's Barbara Streisand."
No, he's gonna be like, "Man, this kind of reminds me of when I was doing A Star Is Born, and I got up on stage, and he probably just went into that rift, just went on about it."
I think we're on to our next
Oh my
topic.
God,
now.
I think we
please.
are too.
Will Smith, we don't need.
We
to
had
talk
to have
about
a few laughs because unfortunately the next topic is very
It
sad.
is sad.
Bruce Willis diagnosed with aphasia.
Not alopecia.
Obviously, I don't think. Yeah, no, he's already bald. Well, he could have it.
I only make that joke because I had a family member who didn't know what aphasia was. And
None of us did.
And thought
Be
I did.
honest, I did. I had no clue.
Oh,
You
I heard of
did?
aphasia
I,
before,
well,
yeah.
I work with physical therapists, and
Well, there you go.
aphasia
Yeah.
is actually, you can treat that with speech therapy. So
I had no
kinda know
clue.
about that. Yeah.
So then they thought that it was like the same thing Jada Pinkett had at first. And I was like, no, that's not why he's bald. It's something completely different. But yeah, it is sad because you basically lose like the ability to communicate at all because you can't really understand like written word or speech, and then you can't really convey it back.
Yeah.
I was reading that this isn't something that's just sudden, even though they just announced it. Apparently, for some time now, he's had to have an earpiece in, and people feed him his lines because he's had this difficulty for a little while, and it's now gotten severe and been diagnosed. So
Well, I think
Also,
they even heard on. Well, I mean, I know this is terrible that we were just talking about. The
Alec
Alec
Baldwin.
Baldwin.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was
But
going to say too.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll
No,
let
I
you-
mean, you go. I just know that there was a film set that they said that he had mishandled some firearms on the set. And stuff.
He apparently
So-
shot at an actress like not on cue. Like apparently there's like when he's supposed to shoot, when I guess it's safe for her, and because he couldn't comprehend like what he was supposed to, he was shooting off cue, which could have
So it's
caused
something they've
problems.
noticed over time, and now they're realizing, hey, maybe it's time to just hang it up and.
And
Well,
I think,
and I
he
was gonna
knows
say, I
that
mean,
you can't.
It's kind of like anybody I think who is close to someone who's suffering from even something like Alzheimer's disease. It's like the last thing you want to see is this person who is well known for a certain kind of who's renowned for a certain kind of acting ability
Yeah.
to be completely not themselves or a shell of who they once were. You don't want to remember them that way. And it's funny I brought up WrestleMania, but it's the same way with like even in that type of entertainment. You don't want to see an old wrestler come out who you loved and try to pull off their old moves. It's like
Right.
Hulk Hogan today
Oh, his
is not
knees
who
are
is
so
he.
bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know when they get him out there for the fan service, but they don't live up to what you remember them.
They look
Yeah.
like Robert De Niro in The Irishman.
Yes. No, exactly.
There's
It's like, he don't need to be playing a mobster anymore.
Or
It's like they could make him look like he's 30 again, but his
Cry
his
Macho.
motions. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That way with Clint Eastwood and
Oh,
Clint
Cry
Eastwood
Macho.
riding that horse. I'm
was
just
bad.
like, dude,
God.
come on,
It's
hang
like
it up, man.
At some point,
You're
yeah,
90 years old. You're not
can't do it.
dancing with some 40-year-old woman in a bar, and I believe that she's in love with you. No,
And
it ain't happening.
and it is because it's funny and I mean, and even of course the Razzies obviously noticed this
Yeah.
because he's been nominated so much. But we have made fun of the fact here recently, like he's had so many like just
Bad roles.
B
Yeah.
movies, and
Yeah.
he's been doing all. And now I'm like, oh well, I wonder if that's why, because this is the type of work he can get where it
Yep.
doesn't really matter if he can understand the script fully because he can just have his lines fed to him, and if he gives like kind of a not so great performance, well, it's not a
Right.
good movie
Yeah.
anyways. And I'm
Been
like,
doing a
it
bunch of
is.
sci-fi,
Yeah.
like B sci-fi movies,
And-
that
and
have
it's-
Well,
and
and that was the thing. The Razzies it nominated him for it was called Cosmic Sin, and I remember this actually from last year because I
Yeah.
saw it,
yeah.
and it wasn't big
I think
anywhere.
it's on my
Yeah.
Plex right
I
now.
think it came out
they
in like small
rescinded it,
circuit.
though.
Yeah.
They,
Well, it was funny because I remember seeing this and I thought Bruce Willis is in
Yeah.
this movie. Like,
Mhm.
oh, he was.
why
in-
wouldn't this be tied to like a theatrical release? But come to find out, it's not only I haven't seen it. It's got to be a terrible movie.
Yeah, I haven't watched
And
it
then
yet
it got
either.
nominated for the Razzies, and then of course after they heard this news, they were like, "We didn't know about the health issues.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to rescind the
It's
nomination.
like, we don't want to make
because-
fun of somebody who has an actual like excuse for why they're bad. You know?
Right. Well, and
We
again,
want to make fun of people like
I applaud the family for coming out and at least admitting, like, hey, obviously they had to wait until, because I didn't agree with, I think the article we have linked to in the description about the Razzies rescinding, they actually got kind of mad saying, yeah, to me, they took it a little too far. It was like all you had to do was apologize and say, we take this back. But they
Yeah.
were like, we really think, the onus is on the people who, kind of have let him take this too far. Yeah, and I'm just like, look, you don't need to point fingers
No,
because I
it's-
guarantee you,
yeah.
if you have any kind of lucid brain and you talk to anybody who loves what they do, they're going to want to do it till their dying day.
yeah.
And the fact is yeah, maybe Bruce Willis had to be convinced, like, you can't do this, you can't go on.
Yeah.
But
it's-
it wasn't until
he's not
he
an
came.
invalid. It affects like his ability to communicate, but it's not like he can't have a normal thought. Like he can't think at all. It's like he can make certain decisions, and if as long as he was able to communicate as best as he could to continue acting for as long as he could,
well,
then yeah.
and it's literally like telling somebody who, again, you're going to tell somebody who's been doing this their entire life who continue. I mean, it's like telling Clint Eastwood, "Oh, by the way, you can't act
You're old.
anymore."
Stop it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, come on, seriously. It's insulting. It's like, come on, he's given us some great action flicks. And even some great moments in something, like The Sixth Sense, where he shows his acting chops. And I'm just like, look, it's great that he's given us what he could.
Zed's dead, man.
Zed is dead.
That's dead.
There's Die Hard, Pulp Fiction, and Sixth Sense, man. Those are
Invincible. Or what is it? The Unbreakable.
Oh, Unbreakable. Yeah,
that's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Yes, that's not my
Unbreakable's
favorite
good.
of his, but Unbreakable is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right after
He
Sixth
was
Sense.
invincible.
There you go.
Well, even in Glass, which I know had mixed reviews and mixed receptions, I thought he brought the role back.
Yeah.
And he did it justice. Like
I'm trying to think of I don't the last movie he was in that I really enjoyed, because it definitely wasn't that last Die Hard movie. It was bad. But I'm trying to think.
Die Hard with a Vengeance is my favorite one.
That's
the one with
third one.
The
or
one
Justin
with,
Long.
It's 4. It's the one with 4 with Justin Long and Timothy Olyphant.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my favorite Die Hard. Other than Die Hard.
Die Hard 1, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go with.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're talking sequels, Vengeance is amazing.
just thought of
Freaking Kevin Smith. And
Yippee Ki Yay! What's my line?
The Fifth Element. I love
terrible.
The Fifth
Oh,
Element. I
Fifth
forgot
Element.
all about Fifth Element.
Oh, yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That might have been, I think that might have been one of the first movies I ever saw him in, because I was very young when I saw that movie, because I watched a lot of things with my brothers
I've
and my
been bowling
grandparents.
with
so,
Bruce
yeah.
Willis, so yeah.
I know he's definitely an
He was a nice
A-lister.
guy.
That,
I forgot about this. Yeah, you told us that story. Yeah.
what?
The bowling at Dixie Bowl with Bruce Willis.
Nuh-uh. I forgot all about
I've
that.
told you about
Yeah, he
that.
told us that
Well,
story.
let's remind our listeners, because I completely forgot.
So Bruce Willis has family that live in Kentucky. I'm not going to say their last name. I know their last name. I went to school with this guy named Jake, and his father owns well, I don't know if they're still around, but he owned a huge glass business here in Louisville, and his wife is related to Bruce Willis. She was a Willis until she married into this family.
Oh, okay. So by blood.
But yeah, so Bruce Willis and Demi, they were still married at the time he was filming Pulp Fiction.
His daughter was born here.
Yeah.
Rumor Willis was born in.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
So he had just gotten done filming Pulp Fiction, and he was in town for a family get together. I think it might have been like Thanksgiving, for real. And so my friend Jake called me and was like, "Hey man, can you come up to Dixie Bowl?" And I was like, "Dude, it's Thanksgiving, like no." And he was like, "Well, they opened the lanes today because Bruce Willis is up here with us bowling, like our family's bowling."
And I'm like, let's go.
So they
Yeah.
opened.
all right, I'll be bowling.
So I got to go up there and bowl with. I didn't get to play with him in that game, like he was on a lane next to me.
Yeah.
But he was shiny bald head. He had shaved it for the movie, and he had like a hoodie on, and he was trying to play it down. But the fact that it was just like mostly their family and stuff there. But Demi, like I remember, Jake's mother was telling us like Demi hates his family. Like she doesn't want nothing to do with it. So she wasn't
They're not
there.
together anymore.
Yeah, she wouldn't come. She wouldn't come to Kentucky and all that stuff. But he wanted something low key and wanted to get out of town and come. So he came here, and I got to bowl 10 frames next to Bruce Willis.
That's pretty awesome. That's a freaking
say
awesome
in,
story.
And I heard him talking. Like I never got to actually
Speak to him.
talk to him.
Was it
But
one of those things where you wanted to like?
I wanted to, but
You're in the same building with him. That's
yeah.
That's still,
I mean,
you
I'm in
know,
the. He's in
But
the
is
lane
it
next
also
to
one of
us.
those instances where you're like, I don't want to bug him?
Well,
or were you
it's like that,
starstruck?
or it's like what am I gonna say?
Yeah.
He's like, man,
You don't
I'm a
want
big fan.
to. You don't want to look like. Yeah. You don't
Who
want to
is
look
it?
like the annoying little.
Yeah. So no, we played it cool over here. There was a couple of other guys from my school that we were all there bowling, and he was over there with the
It just
family.
sucks because it's like,
and
man,
we were
if you
yeah.
had seen if
I
Pulp
could hear him
Fiction was out,
talking. I mean, he was nice.
Nice
Like,
guy.
It's kind of funny because like in every role he's got a bad mouth and stuff, but when he was there talking, like he was as nice as he could be to the people he was with and stuff. And I'll never
That's good.
forget that. It was pretty cool. He signed a picture, and I would assume they still have it.
probably right
on the
up there
wall
above Luster King.
next to Don
So-
Carroll.
Don Carroll, they're elite. They're elite bowler. I'm just saying.
Elite.
He will be missed in the movies. He is definitely one of the greats, definitely one of the celebrities of our time. So, sad to hear about Bruce Willis. We're going to move on to our last headline.
The last.
And
the first is last, and the last is first.
It's disturbing news.
Quoting the Bible here.
It's what our entire episode
Misquoting.
is named about.
It was a generalization.
It's named after Disney. Has went
There's
woke.
been some controversy with Disney here recently.
I know they've been woke.
It's been woke, but then when you have videos of a conference where
subtle,
where she said my not so secret gay agenda, and I forget I'd have to pull up the article because she's in charge of I think the television side kind of
she's a huge producer in the television
for the children's programming in television. Yeah, and it's just.
I think one of the things she said was like her intention is to queer up every show
at 50%
or something like that.
It was
like,
at 50%, at least 50% of the characters within every Disney show she could get to have some kind of queerness.
Well, here's what I thought was what irked me, it turned my stomach a little bit, is because I watched the video and listened to her talk. It wasn't like this like. I mean, I'm not saying this isn't evil. It is, but it wasn't like to her in her mind. Like it wasn't like listening to somebody who had this evil scheme. Like she sounds like she believes she's doing like
the right thing.
This wonderful thing.
Well,
and
yeah.
it's like, and that's what is frightening is to think that you don't even know. Like, there's not a place for especially younger children. There's a time and a place when to teach this, and it belongs to the parents in general anyways. I mean, nobody has the right to teach someone else's child something that they don't want them to know at that point anyways. So to take that away as if you know what's best for other people's children and you're going to cram it down their throats and let them know because they need to be raised this way, that's not your right. That's not your place. Your place is to entertain. Your place is to make something wholesome for the family that children can enjoy so the parents don't have to worry about, oh, I got to screen every little thing they're watching because I can't trust Disney anymore, or just not watch Disney at all anymore because you can't trust them anymore. And it is a disturbing thing. And I know Sean, I would say, probably has more feelings in this story because you are a father.
Yeah, and it's really sad that we've gotten to the point where we have to watch Disney content before I let my kids watch it. I had mentioned that we got about 10 minutes into Turning Red, and my wife and I both looked at each other and we're like, we're turning this off. We're not letting the kids watch this.
Yep.
And they didn't understand why, and it's good. I don't want them to know why yet. They're too young. But, they understood that mom and dad saw something that they shouldn't be watching, and they went with it, But, it's really pathetic that we have to – Disney is that household name that you associate with clean – good, wholesome content for your children to watch. You shouldn't have to be the monitor for Disney. Disney should be monitoring this crap before it gets to my kids.
That's what they used to do.
And that's kind of where we're at. And I understand there's a lot of people that are outraged by this. I saw some tweets where it was like, I'm a mom and we canceled our Disney subscription today and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like, I get that. There's a lot of content on there that I'm not willing to let my kids watch, but there's also a lot of content
the classics
that they used to make that's good content.
Yeah.
And therefore, at this point, I don't feel like I'm going to boycott and cancel it all because,
I think it's interesting because to me, again, kind of going twofold. One on that, and then also even on what you were talking about first, Keith, about just the unabashed, like, no apologizing, not even covering it up, no subtlety anymore.
Well, because again,
it's
they
just
don't think they're doing anything.
No,
that
of course,
is morally wrong.
But again,
I think they do.
In some ways, yes.
No.
If they
Here's the thing:
they're trying to fly it in under the radar because they know it's controversial. Because
but again, they're flying it under the radar because they know, yes, the content they're publishing is, again, it's the rejected policies that they see or even lifestyles that they see as something that should be celebrated. I do believe that these people think they're moral crusaders in trying to change the hearts and minds of kids, but no, it is that indoctrination. That is the very root of what, because that's the thing. Why would they be going after that type of a child, an infant, and raising them with that worldview without trying to institute a certain kind of ideology within them? And that to me is the bigger voice of concern. Absolutely. It is the veil has been torn off. They aren't trying to do it subtly anymore because they want it to be embraced and they want to know that they are there. They've climbed through the upper echelons. And again, it's not like this has been hidden. People, I mean, they didn't get there just by secretly becoming, these types of people within the corporation. No, they climbed through the ranks outwardly, parading around being proud of this lifestyle, and then ultimately them being rewarded by being promoted to the upper echelons of Disney, and Disney saying, well, no, this is exactly what we need within the company. And I mean, all the way going to the point of not mentioning ladies and gentlemen within the parks.
Yeah,
dreamers of all ages is what they announce.
Yeah,
and it's like, again, they want to act like people who are pointing this out and discovering it are the people who it's like, no. Again, don't notice the man behind the curtain. You're not supposed to notice this. But they're very calculated with their attempts at this indoctrination. And kind of going back to what you said, Sean, about, no, I'm not. It's funny because I'm not canceling my Disney Plus subscription, but I just supply it to my whole family. So I think the bigger thing that is of question here, and I think what's going to be important as far as a highlight, is we don't know with all of these streaming services. We've talked about it with Netflix before in terms of not even just woke content, but content in general that they cancel. We very rarely ever have a focus on the content that is pushed versus what is streamed. And the fact of the matter is Disney's never going to open that information up to us. But I can guarantee you that at the end of the day, most of what people are screening are the old Disney classics that they know are what they grew up on,
right?
That are not pushing this hidden agenda that they don't have to screen, and that's what they're going to put on for their children. But all of the woke crap that is pushed that children won't be watching because their parents will screen it and say, not in my house.
Yeah.
And Disney will still push it because guess what? They're using all the successful dollars to now push this other crap and peddle it even though nobody's watching it. But then they have enough of it to where you'll have some parents who are probably a little bit more lackluster or who don't really care, don't screen what their kids are watching, or even, sadly, don't care that they are being indoctrinated to a certain level, to a certain extent, and that will be crap that their kids do turn into and tune into. And I ultimately think it is going to become an issue to where you will have to cancel your Disney Plus subscription when they start peddling so much of this that you have no choice, because even with the classics in there, it's just going to be bombarding you with all this new stuff that you don't have time to screen it as a parent. There's way too many other things. And that's why I think with the Daily Wire article that we linked to in the description, they're creating an alternative of kids' content. They're trying to at least create some kind of sphere of not only having the traditional classic influences of what we all grew up with, but ultimately at least some alternative to what these other woke corporations are peddling through the messages of trying to indoctrinate our children. And it's just sad that we've come to this, and that's why I think I titled the episode Disney Rolling Over in His Grave. Because there's absolutely no way Disney ever stood for any of this, of what's being peddled today.
No.
And it's just sad. It's sad that the House of Mouse is literally just turning into this gobbledygook of a woke leftist ideology.
Well, Walt Disney was a bigot in his day, so we don't look to him for our ideals and values.
Yeah, isn't that the funny thing is you can turn on this crap with the woke ideologies being celebrated, but then you have to go back and watch, Dumbo with some kind of message at the beginning saying, "Oh, there's a song in this and it's racially insensitive," and so you have to watch a warning with all the traditional content.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say yes, there are those classics, but even at some point, the classics will be rehashed to the point where they're woke. If they don't do something at the beginning, they'll go back in and touch up the film or add something to it or whatever or I mean, look at even with I'm trying to think of the situation where they went back and said, "Oh, well, no, that character was gay the whole time," and I'm like, "No, they weren't."
Oh yeah.
I can't think of what I'm.
Probably Ben-Hur.
No, it wasn't in there.
I heard that recently.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember exactly. The author was like going back and saying, no, that person was gay the whole time, and I'm like, no, they weren't. There was never any indication. I may be thinking of Dumbledore. I don't know if that's what I'm thinking of or not.
Oh well, I mean, J.K. Rowling did do that. Say that Dumbledore's always been gay.
Yeah, right.
But even though
she didn't write it that way.
Yeah,
but,
she thought of that, back in 1995.
Well, we all hate her anyways because she's against trans.
I like what the Daily Wire is doing with this. I like the idea. And maybe in the spring of 2023, if they have enough content that it's worth $10.99 a month, I'll switch from Disney to that.
Maybe.
But there have been other alternatives. Answers TV has nothing available for what you pay. And Right Now Media is like the Christian Netflix that churches subscribe to.
I don't know about you sure it ain't PureFlix?
No, PureFlix has nothing either. But
Right
Right Now
stuff.
Media is
It's
like
not
a
worth
huge
watching.
thing. Churches subscribe to it and give like passwords out to their members, and you have access to this. And it has Francis Chan, it has Southeast Christian, but it also has like thousands of kids shows. But you get on there and watch them, and it's like you feel stupid for watching it. They're terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna have to see and be convinced by the Daily Wire's content.
I agree.
And the amount of content to be worth
Absolutely.
it, because I am not one of those people who subscribe to the Daily Wire for $10 a month to get all of that content. I don't really. I listen to the podcast. That's all I want to listen. I don't want to watch them live. I don't want to join in on discussions. So I'm not giving them my money right now. But if their content is good enough and if there's enough of it to keep my kids and myself entertained, then I would think about jumping ship. But as long as I can still watch The Little Mermaid and pay homage to the classics that Walt Disney made, and even before that with The Fox and the Hound and freaking Sword in the Stone, like all these great movies.
Stop it, Sean.
I know.
Stop it. You're making my heart break.
I'm sorry. I thought I was saying something racist or something.
No. Those are all great movies.
Yeah,
and,
and
it's
as
like
long as
Disney
they're
is
available
not
and
that
untouched,
anymore.
then I want to still be able to watch those. Now I do have them on VHS.
I'm sure
Unfortunately,
Disney's
I
okay
don't
with
have a
touching
VHS player anymore. But as long as they're on Disney Plus, that's where I'm going to find it. Now, again,
You might
I'm
want to
ready.
make sure you have physical copies because one day they might edit out scenes from Dumbo
Oh, I
and
know.
such.
Hey,
that's
I have The Little Mermaid on VHS where it's got a big old freaking
the
dildo on the
penis?
cover.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yes.
still have
well,
that.
it's like
Those
so
were the
many
good
of those
days.
cartoons.
Yeah, they're not going to
where-
edit the dicks off my Little Mermaid. but seriously, like, yes, I am not one of those people that is set in stone. I'm not going to budge from where I'm at. When there is something readily available, the same thing with freaking Twitter and Facebook. When there's another alternative that is equal, I'm jumping. I'm going. And that's just,
Well,
I'm
and-
waiting
and-
for it to appear.
And here's the thing, and I understand. I'm completely okay with people having that perspective. Is like, show me the goods. I'm one of those. It's like I want to be not an early adopter, but one of those at the forefront of saying, okay, you've got to give. I applaud Daily Wire for at least coming out and confirming they're going to spend $100 million over the next 3 years, to the point where they will create as much children's content that will hopefully give you the impression that, okay, this is enough, this is worth it. But also, I think it's to their credit, them trying to build a platform for the content, like you said, not that you go to these other very watered down or very directed, okay, we're simply trying to get you to say, come enjoy this content, but it's so, again,
Weak and boring.
yes,
and
and
it's not
it's just-
entertaining.
it's
It's
like-
cheap.
it's cheap, and it's also just the messages themselves are not any depth.
just
It's like,
hokey and bad. It's
it's bad.
The interview when we did Hyperion, Jeremy Boring actually had done like a little interview before that, and he had stated that they want to make movies that you want to watch, not that you want to watch, because
Right.
there is a difference. Is that they have all the messages in there, like the Pure Flicks and stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, I really want to watch this because it has the right message. But then when you watch it, it's terrible.
Yep.
It's like you actually want to watch it, not just want to
Right.
watch it. So it's like,
well, and
I
even,
agree
even
with
like
that
with
idea.
Shut In, when we reviewed that, and like, yeah, there's some biblical undertones, but there's not like a direct Christian message. I mean, the whole thing, she throws the Bible across the room,
Right.
and
It's not a
there's
movie you
verses,
can watch with your family
but
at all.
yeah, exactly. And it's like again, there used to be movies that released like this. We talk about it all the time. Back in the early to late 2000s, when it was like
Yeah.
that would not be overlooked. It
Yeah.
was a type of movie you could watch, and the messages were there that any kind of audience could enjoy, whether you were a believer or not.
Like Morbius.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly like Morbius. And that's, I think, what ultimately, too.
There's holy water in the movie.
No, ultimately, I really do think that's what I'm going to
forgot about
enjoy about content that comes from these alternative sources. And I don't think Daily Wire is trying to become the only place. I think they're trying to spearhead the kind of, let's take the culture back.
Yeah.
Let's have content that doesn't necessarily have any kind of political message. Yeah, it may have a moral message, but what movies don't? Because when you do get milquetoast moral messages, you get Captain America at the beginning of Endgame, who doesn't stand for any kind of, American way.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a bland milquetoast version of a Captain America.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but when you have any kind of hero stand for nothing, then you're going to fall for anything.
Yeah, and that changed over time. Me and Sawyer were watching The Avengers.
Yeah.
And or I think it was Age of Ultron, where he jumps out of the plane and says, "There's only one God,
Oh,
ma'am."
that's the first Avenger.
That's the first.
That was the one done by Joss Whedon.
Yes, I
that
love
was the
that
first
line.
Avengers movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that line too. But
They
Joss Whedon's a
strayed
terrible
from that.
person, so you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that.
Especially coming from Joss Whedon, who's
He was
agnostic.
very old. Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't really have any faith in God at all. But again, he was being true to the characters and true to the story, and used to have
he
some of that.
incorporates faith in a lot of his stuff because
Well, he
says,
did at Shepherd Book in Firefly.
He
It's
says
amazing.
it fascinates him, and I'm like, maybe there's a reason it fascinates you. You should maybe look into it a little bit more.
But again,
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I at least what I love about people with that kind of perspective and why that shows they're truly creative is because they're not tied to one specific ideology.
Yeah.
They can think outside the box. They can think and put themselves in somebody else's shoes, and they can actually be faithful to the person's perspective, who they're coming from. And I'm sorry, if you don't have real empathy for the story that you're telling about a certain person, then you're not going to be able to identify it with them in such a way that you can be faithful to that group of people.
Yeah.
And that goes for any of these LGBT, QIA plus tilde sign and ampersand and all that crap. It goes to that group of people. The fact is they are the woke leftist ideology is so hell-bent on thrusting their message in one specific direction, you can't have any ulterior perspective. Yeah. You just can't. And that's the issue we're at with our culture, and it's becoming so bloated with one specific type of way of thinking that I think people are just sick of it. And you see them just turning over in droves, whether it's just dropping out of entire entertainment venues like the NBA or even turning off football. There's so many different mediums within entertainment. People are just turning it off. They just don't have anything to turn to. And I'm hopeful that, someone like the Daily Wire and so many other people that I see trying to spearhead these type of efforts on, YouTube and other platforms, it's like they're out there, but we just got to give them that notoriety, and we've got to give them that support. So go out there and support them if you can, because hell, we know Disney would not be fighting for what his company has turned into. It's just sad. It's nowhere near what it used to be and what he built it to become.
I'm hopeful for the alternatives, and I'm also hopeful that there will be enough blowback and enough damage done to the pocketbook that maybe Disney will turn things around.
And my only word of caution there, last thing I will say, if they start to tuck tail and run, don't give in right away.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to hit them where it hurts.
Yeah.
And the only way they'll truly become apolitical and go back to just making content that anybody can enjoy is to truly hit them where it hurts. And that means do not invest in them. Do not give them any more amount of money you can until they finally showcase, hey, all right, we're backing off. This is a battle we can't win. We need to go back to just making entertaining content for everybody with no political agenda or message. Yep. That's all you can do. Alrighty, guys, let's move into our final segment of the evening, our Vices segment. Alrighty, guys.
Vices.
Oh, y'all did it. That was great.
That was weird.
That was very in tune.
Actually,
Yeah. That was like
It's
it was
kinda
almost
creepy.
planned, but it wasn't.
it's kind of creepy.
I liked it.
There was a huge connection between us when we went and saw Morbius. So
Yeah.
It had that bat, the
Yeah.
bat juice.
Without you in between us,
Oh yeah.
it got fresh.
Hey,
Mm.
I'm not complaining.
I asked him
Well,
to
no,
calm-
because you were somewhere much better.
he,
No.
he was
That's true.
He wouldn't get the reference, but I was about to say I asked you to call me Milo. That's the name of the character in the movie.
Yeah,
but
I don't even want to.
I thought actually at the beginning of the movie, I thought they were going to end up being gay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had that feeling.
Morbius isn't gay, not in the comics.
But
I mean,
don't
you
know anything about Morbius. I was
know.
just thinking
I don't
these guys are going to be gay. They're
Maybe.
a little touchy feely for me.
Well, he likes to suck.
Ah! All right, let's talk about our vices segment.
What is it?
We're talking about coffee.
Huh?
I wanted to
I
get
like
a little. We drink coffee on the show almost every week.
Yeah.
We had a little reprieve when we were doing our beer testing.
Yeah.
But are you a coffee snob or not?
Yes.
Oh, you are.
Sean said, "Yeah."
Oh yeah.
We know Brandon's not. He'd be buying that Dollar Tree coffee and the
Buying that-
Folgers.
Here's the
Ho
thing.
ho and ding dong latte.
I won't turn down coffee.
Oh, yeah,
like
no.
I'll drink.
I'm not in a snob in the sense that I'll drink.
I'll drink it, but
Yeah.
when I make it or when I buy it, I
That's
I'm a snob.
100%. I will never turn down coffee. I'll drink Folgers. Like I don't hate it,
No.
but if I'm making my own coffee at home, there's no Folgers in my house.
No.
It's all
No.
coffee beans. I grind it.
I'm not
I
gonna
brew
be
it.
judgmental. I'm not gonna be like Brandon. I'm not drinking.
I was
that.
gonna say, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, guys,
No.
because that's
Yeah.
all you're getting.
No,
because I
then
can't
that's
afford
fine.
nothing else.
That's fine.
you better be surprised it ain't freaking
Um,
Kroger brand.
I buy Kroger brand for work. They actually have good K-cups.
Oh well, they're K cups.
Their
I'm talking about
K-cups are
their.
good.
Well, actually, it's the same thing.
It's the
as
same
their-
thing. It's just in
yeah.
a cup.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
in a cup, man.
All I
Just
know
a
is
K-cup.
they have different kinds. They have like a morning
Yeah,
brew
yeah,
and
yeah.
I get
a
the
dark
donut
brew.
shop, the hazelnut, and
I
the
mean,
Colombian.
I don't. Honestly, I don't really hate any coffee. Like I will like drink
Yeah.
Folgers or Maxwell House. Like I'm not gonna say that I think it's gross and you shouldn't touch it. It's just, but I agree with Sean. When I do, and I haven't actually bought coffee in forever. I was gifted. I won't name places or things, but a restaurant shut down that brews coffee normally, and this person used to work there, and they had to get rid of everything. So I got like 3 or 4 bags of coffee beans, and that's been lasted me almost a year now because
Oh
like
my
they're,
God.
well,
That's
they're
freaking awesome.
there's these big bags, so like
Yeah.
I just grind these beans and brew
Yes.
it, and it's so
See, that's
good.
another thing. That's
Yeah.
part of the snobbery
Yes.
is grinding your own beans.
It's fresher.
it's
and
so much
how
better.
you make it as well. Like
So much better.
I have a stupidly priced coffee maker, and
Is that the Techniforum? Or
no,
you
I
got
don't
the
have a
Ninja?
Techniforum. No, I had the Bonavita. Now the Bonavita lasted me about 5 years, and then it crapped out. Now I've got I'm trying to think of what it's called. I got it on Amazon. It's the exact same design. It's actually made by the same parent company as Bonavita, but it's Amazon sells it. But it's any coffee maker over $200 is just stupid. But they make good coffee.
The Technoforum.
Yeah.
I've been impressed by that.
Oh, yeah.
My
I'm-
sister,
it's
and
the same
my sister
process.
and my brother both
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah.
And I think it's drip coffee.
It is. It's
And
drip.
but they
Drip
grind their own
coffee's supposed to be-
beans.
yes,
Shower.
And it's oh my
Shower
gosh,
drip
it's
too.
so freaking good. And plus, I was surprised by this. Kind of like what I learned with the beer in cans, which I learned by going to Harpoon up there
That's right.
in Boston, and
Beer's
I
freshest
became
out of a can.
I became a fan.
They
And
converted me. They did.
They did. Same here.
I was a
But,
bottle person until then.
I will say that with my sister and my brother, they both have a Techniforum, and it drips into a metal carafe. And I thought, well, metal. I was like, that's not good. Not only the metallic taste, again, a beer holdover. That was my misjudgment.
I
on
know, anytime
cans.
you can keep something out of light, it's always better.
Yeah.
But also, I was thinking, because it was so hot, it would definitely take on that taste with heating up the. But no, it actually, it's because the warmer actually keeps the carafe hot and it doesn't burn the coffee. Whereas most ones that have like a metal pot, they end up, or the burner's not, actually adjusted to the correct temperature it should be, and
Yeah.
it ends up burning the coffee. That's why it never tastes good.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, so that's really the main
Now
difference.
mine has a glass carafe, but mine does have a burner that only goes to 198 degrees. So coffee is supposed to be brewed between 195 and 205. Anything hotter or colder, it's not any good. So as long
Burns
as
the bean.
as long as the burner only gets to a certain temperature, but the bad thing about that is in a glass carafe,
Carafe,
it doesn't stay hot because glass doesn't hold in the heat.
Right.
It escapes.
And that's kind of
So
what
some
the
of them
the
have
metal
that
one
metal-
is nice. Yeah.
I would say some of the glass carafes have that metal ring around them because that's supposed to kind of
Yeah,
help.
yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
If
not as
you
good
go
as
to a
metal
restaurant, a
carafe,
lot of
yeah.
restaurants will have metal carafes
Right.
that
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
use.
I actually take mine out and I pour it
Into a metal
into
carafe?
a vacuum
Yeah.
sealed metal carafe, and it holds for about 5-6 hours. hot.
I was gonna say that, and it makes sense because you think about your thermos, and it's
Yeah.
like you put it in a thermos and it's metal, and it keeps this. Yeah, same thing. But I would say I don't know, same thing. I'm not a snob. Obviously, y'all have seen the coffee maker I have, and I don't really grind beans. I'm a snob when it comes to. I don't know. It's kind of like I think about it in terms of cigars. It's like if I'm going to sit down and have a nice night where I want to enjoy, I'm going to have a nice cigar when I know it's a rare occasion. But if it's going to be on a casual circumstance where it's pretty constant, it's like I don't need to have high-class coffee every single morning when I wake up.
Yeah, you do.
Because it's just too much. It's too expensive. So I'll get, I'll just do my Folgers in a,
At work, I have a instant, like a K-cup thing. An off-brand one is like $30.
iCoffee.
No, it wasn't
That's
that
what y'all
one.
got me.
That's what I got you.
And it's fine.
It works good.
It works fine.
No, yeah, I make those little Kroger K-cups all day long at work, or I'll drink the John Conti out of the pot in the break room.
Yeah.
But when I'm home, like on a Saturday morning, if I decide to make coffee, it's grinding the beans, giving them a good sniff after I've ground
every weekend.
And yeah,
every weekend I grind beans and I brew coffee, and it's a beautiful.
It is something different too. That's another thing. It's the grinding of the beans and then like the fresh aroma. And there's nothing like what I'll do is I'll start the pot.
Stick your finger in there, and
just take a little dab.
But I do sometimes. I mean, I've eaten coffee beans like in chocolate covered ones. So sometimes when they're ground, I'm a weirdo. But sometimes when I grind a fresh bean, I'm like, I need a little bit of that.
There's a good taste.
Tap it on my finger and put it on my tongue.
In the morning I start the brew, and then I'll walk outside with Edie and I'll let her pee and do her business.
Yeah.
And then that way when I come back in, it just
ready
hits you.
Yeah.
And I love the smell of
then
coffee
you just
in the morning.
bathe in it.
Oh, it's so good. Sometimes even just smelling the coffee, I just got to poop right away. Just go do a BM.
Yeah. Now let's talk about coffee that you buy out and about. What's your favorite?
Not
Starbucks.
Yeah, not Starbucks.
No, not Starbucks.
I ran to. I'm pretty sure I told the story on the podcast. In fact, about them not having just plain coffee.
I mean they do, but they didn't that day.
They didn't that day because all their machines were broken. But it was so annoying because they're like, we can't brew any regular coffee because the machine's down. And I'm just like,
again, it's like
I don't
cream
want
machine
anything
at McDonald's.
else. I just want a black coffee. Like, and it irked me. But yeah, because I'm not into like. I mean, every now and then I do like frappuccinos. But it's not a thing I want regularly. It's just like I'm in a mood for a frappuccino. But I'm not huge into like the creamers and the sweeteners and all that. I just like a good tasting like black coffee. Sometimes
Same.
I might add some sugar to it just if I'm feeling frisky. And I've added honey to it before, and it's really good. But I'm just not super fancy. So yeah, all the ones that are like the hipster, like Starbucks, like you gotta come here, Sister Beans.
I don't even think Starbucks is and even
not
Sister
Honey
Beans.
Brothers.
Not anymore.
I don't like them either.
And I like Sunnergoss. It's
Sunner-
local.
Okay,
and
that
I
is
like them.
amazing. But again, they grow their own like beans. And
They import them from specific areas.
But I mean, it is for them. And yeah, it's very good because they're not the sugary like. I did recently. Stomping Grounds was decent. I've been there here recently.
That's
and I
over
liked
off Dixie, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been there. It's pretty decent.
Yeah,
it's okay.
There's a couple of them that are newer popping up that are smaller. So, but yeah, I don't really go to coffee houses.
Have y'all had the new brand that pushed into town? They're national, I think, or regional, isn't Scooters?
Oh, Scooters,
No,
yeah.
They've popped into.
I've heard they're
to
popular
take over,
too,
I guess,
but I haven't tried them yet.
Starbucks brand, because I thought they were local, and then they built two locations, literally one on the upper end of Dixie and one on the lower.
Is one of them
And
in
it's-
Dixie or not Dixie Manor, where Target used
Yes.
to be in that
Yep.
parking lot?
Yep.
Yeah.
What's that one?
It's
That's
Scooters.
That's Scooters.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have one. They literally have it sandwiched in between Starbucks on Dixie.
Oh, okay.
There's one on the upper end, like before you get on the interstate,
Yeah.
and there's one down here.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I thought they were kind of local, and then I realized they had an app, and I was like, there ain't no local place that has an app.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, they're not. And then sure enough,
It's a
like,
small. Yeah,
I think
it's
they're like a
small chain.
regional
Yeah,
chain.
yeah.
But I mean, they're good. They've got good, just regular cup of coffee, and they definitely cater to, I think, the Starbucks alternative. They're not any less expensive
Yeah.
than a Starbucks, but. And granted, I've gone to Starbucks just to get a black coffee, and I don't mind it. Their blends are fine. It's to me, again, it's become it's not cool to go to Starbucks because they're the the corporate overlords, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
They make a fine cup of coffee.
See, I think their coffee's burnt.
I don't like the
some of their blends, like their
here's
dark blend. I get their breakfast blend.
I don't know
fine.
anymore because
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't been there in a very, very long time, and I haven't had a coffee from there in years. But you know who had a better black coffee than Starbucks? White Castle.
White Castle and Dunkin' Donuts
Oh,
are
Dunkin'
the
Donuts are
two
amazing
like
coffee.
fast food coffees that are amazing.
White Castle's
Believe
good.
it or not,
but-
Wendy's Redhead coffee is good too.
Oh, I haven't tried that.
White
yet.
Castle used
White
to have
Castle
better coffee
was
than
good.
Starbucks. Yeah.
The problem is the one I've gone to. It's watered down. Here's the thing, and it doesn't make any sense. It's
I
watered
haven't
down.
had it in years, so I don't know if they're still good. But
No, when they actually make it correct,
It
I
is?
guess how they're
Okay.
supposed to, it's good. But it's the last few times only when I worked the morning shift, and that's the problem. Is I'm like, it's freaking in the morning. It
Yeah,
should be
yeah, good
fresh.
coffee.
You go to the one downtown.
No, it's
The
it's
one
the
on
one
Greenwood
on-
is the one that used to have the really good coffee.
that was the one I go to,
Yeah.
and it's
that's
either
sad.
watered down and it's also lukewarm. It's not even.
will
piping
say,
hot.
That's
Um,
inflation. They're just
Dunkin'
they're just
Donuts-
stretching it, trying to save money.
was Starbucks' biggest competitor in the coffee business for a long time, especially when they started out. So
Yeah,
and
Dunkin's
I
got
agree,
good coffee.
and they do. I do like Dunkin's coffee. I will agree with that. I would rather have Dunkin's over Starbucks any day.
Yeah.
But I ultimately I'll go to a local place if I can find it. That's why I stick with Sundergass. Heine Brothers I know
Sundergass
is
is good.
regional, but they're not bad.
They're
We have,
okay.
we have a
They're
coffee
local.
shop down the street from our house on 480. I don't know if your brother has ever tried it because
What's
they
it
live out
called?
that way. That's what I'm trying to think of what it's called.
He probably hasn't because they have the
It's
technical.
right there
so
by.
he
it's
just
it's
makes
right
it.
there by 65.
Okay.
I have to try to think of find the
Oh,
name
there
of
was
it.
there was one we just went to downtown right after one of my races. It was really good. And Quills is great. It's local. It's a local joint downtown, right off of East Market or East Main.
All I know is now
it's
that
good.
I, with me being off the next couple of days, I now really want to go get a Dunkin' coffee at some point.
That's probably not going to be good for your mouth.
It'll be okay. Not that,
Uh-huh.
I'm not talking about tomorrow. I mean,
Oh.
like I'm off at like Thursday, Friday,
well,
Saturday.
it'll be healed up
Sunday,
by
yeah.
Thursday. You'll be
Burn
good.
the stitches out.
Yeah, I'm just gonna because I mean I don't have to I
Cauterize
can
those
eat.
wounds.
It's like I mean after the first day I'll be fine. I'll
Have
just
you
drink
all
some
had
coffee.
Black Rifle coffee yet?
No, I
I have
want
not.
to.
I do
good.
want to try it.
Yeah,
and
it's
and you can get those with whole bean, right?
Yeah.
And grind
Yeah,
it up.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I want. I know they actually are starting to sell in stores now. I mean I know Kentucky Gun Co.
Yeah,
has
they
it,
have it.
but I think other stores.
Cabela's and Bass Pro. And
yeah,
those places
yeah.
have it, but I don't know about.
Now I don't know. Yeah, some are
I don't
like
know any other-
Walmart. I know they
yeah.
don't. They suck.
They don't even sell ammo. They're not going to sell Black Rifle coffee.
They're so good. They're closing a
Lavazza,
store.
That's
here,
good
so-
coffee. I got you all
Lavazza.
Lavazza.
Yeah,
one
Lavazza.
year.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, it
the
was good.
Christmas present.
Yeah,
It was
That was
good.
good.
coffee.
But
It's decent.
I do love a good cup of coffee.
My
good cup of
sister,
Joe.
She entered because Stomping Grounds get some of their beans from they buy from Sundergass.
Oh, okay.
So they had like a little competition, and Miranda signed up and won. So she got a bag of coffee beans, and she doesn't have a grinder. So like she came over to my house, and I ground it all for her. But she left like
Now here's the other thing.
about that much of the bag left just for me, and it's so good.
If you want
yeah.
to talk about being a snob, what kind of grinder do you have?
But you have to have a burr grinder.
It's a burr grinder
Yeah.
with
Okay.
plastic.
Yeah.
I use one with plastic.
Now
blades.
mine's not fancy. I have a Cuisine Art, so it's not.
That's what I
really
have.
expensive. Yeah, but it's a burr. I made sure.
burr grinder,
Like I wasn't
yeah.
going to spend a lot, but I did read that like the burr grinders like are the best. The blades don't really like. They grind it, but it doesn't do it justice as
It's more
far
of a
as the
pulverizing. But yeah,
Um,
you have
Well,
to grind it,
it
a certain
actually
way
can
for
cut
each,
it. I would say
for
the blades
each,
can cut the coffee bean in such a way because that's what I've got. I got a cheap
Yeah.
one, and I just got it when I first started grinding coffee because I had like
I mean,
2 bags I hadn't
it's-
drank yet.
fine, but
But
it's they just say it's
but
not.
no, it,
yeah,
it cuts through the bean in such a way that it kind of chars it when
Yeah.
it cuts like almost like you do put it in a blender.
yeah,
and it's like you're kind of cutting out some of the flavor.
yeah. So I did make sure when I invested, I was like, I got to buy a burr,
Got to buy a burr.
William Burr.
Yep, that's it. Well, if you're a coffee snob out there,
Tell us about it.
tell us what you drink. Give us some suggestions. We'd love to hear if you're a coffee snob or if you just go in and say, no, I just want the Folgers. I'm trying to think of, dang on it.
Sugar.
I think the show's over. We can just end now.
We can. I was trying to think of
You know what you do?
the best part of waking up is sun or
Folgers.
goss in your
Oh.
cup.
Wow.
Sorry. I
Maxwell
threw that.
House, did they ever have a song?
Probably
is
did. They-
crap coffee.
It is pretty bad.
Maxwell House is
I got
garbage.
it one time because I was wanting to be cheap, and I was like, "Oh, funny enough." And I'm glad I didn't mention this because I think you all tried it when I got it just as a joke. Because I went up there to get some film candy,
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree coffee.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was actually
Grove,
not that bad.
Valley Grove. What's it called? Their brand is something Grove or I don't know.
All I know is it was Dollar Tree brand, and it was actually
there's several different things that I've
good.
gotten from Dollar Tree that was their brand that I'm like, wow, this is actually good. But
now you don't get a lot of it.
No.
And that was the thing. I was like, well, it's a buck. I don't expect to. But I bought like their French vanilla blend and like some, I think they had some other like a mocha. And their French vanilla blend, it was not bad. For $1, for $1.
That's
You're
right.
really pinching pennies.
$1.25 now.
Yeah.
When you got $1 and you don't give up, go to Dollar Tree.
There you go.
I've actually heard that and I'm okay with this if that they got a much nicer and wider selection of things. So that 25-cent bump wasn't just we can't afford things. Like they actually have a bigger and better variety with it. So I'm like, in that case, I might be okay with it.
25 cents buys a lot these days. Not.
They sell name brand cereal in there now.
Whoa!
$1.25. So I'm like, hey,
there you go.
They put their money somewhere.
All right.
All right. Until next time, guys, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
water.
Pray for him, guys. He's getting surgery tomorrow. Don't die.
Non-BPA.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.